Hi, everybody. It's Janet with Our Silent Voice, and we're
Hi,
so happy to
everybody.
be
It's
with you
Marie.
today. And we've got Marie here, and I'm here, and we're ready to talk about it. So, Marie, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, let's tell everybody what we did this
Oh
weekend.
my gosh. Wow. I know. I felt like I had been running all weekend long. Yeah, we went to the Right Space Right Fest, and it was virtual and in person. So we had all day virtual workshops with phenomenal writers, which really filled our writer souls. And we did a very special one on trauma. Don't you think that was a good one?
That was very good. I really enjoyed it. And the book recommendations and the things that went on in that class were wonderful.
What were your favorite
Really
books that they
wonderful.
talked about in that workshop?
Well, they talked about The Body Keeps the Score,
Oh my gosh,
which of
yes,
course we're familiar with. And then
yes.
they talked about the new one, which I think you ordered immediately, right?
I
The
did order immediately. I'm going to hold it
Unclaimed
up.
Experience.
Unclaimed Experience.
What a great title.
I
I
know, and it
love that
says
title.
Trauma, Narrative, and History by Cathy Caruth. We'll put the link to the Amazon book, because that's what we do, in our show notes. Okay.
Yeah. So when you go on Amazon to buy the Unclaimed Experience, get our silent voice too.
Yeah, while you're there. Exactly. So, what did you think about the workshop, Marie?
Oh, it was wonderful. I thought that, like I said, the Unclaimed Experience is a great title, and it would have been even a great title for the workshop because, of course, that's what part of the discussion was about. How do you write the thing that you have the most resistance to writing sometimes, the
Yeah.
truth that you really don't want to talk about that much. How do you get to it? And they gave us there were some great tools discussed and some great skills to do that,
Yeah.
which of course we have used in our silent voice, our first volume, and we are using and we got some great submissions, which
I
is so
know.
exciting.
Wasn't that exciting? We got fabulous some submissions. And one of the points that you just made is writing about the things you don't want to write about or thinking about the things you don't want to think about. Um, and, in my recent experience, Marie has a different focus on addiction than I have. And I know that it pains me to write about my 18-year um, relationship with somebody that was multiply addicted to drugs and sex and alcohol. And, I dreaded 4 o'clock because that's when cocktails started. And I dreaded going to bed at night because I knew what he would demand over and over. And so when you mention it, everything in me says, I don't even want to think about it. So, but it made me aware about why talk about it is so important. We've got to be
Yes.
able to find a way to talk about it.
Well, and Janet and I were just discussing this about how she dislikes reading about addiction or Sex Addicts Anonymous or any of those things because of her experience. And I said, for me, reading about it helps me gain perspective and helps me remember that it's not personal.
Yeah.
It's not personal. It's never
Right.
personal. Sexual assault is not personal.
It's
And
not.
addiction is not personal. It's a horrible thing when it
Yes.
happens,
And that
but it's
resistance
not
is
aimed
personal.
specifically
Yes.
at you. It
Yes.
is something that happens within a very damaged person. Doesn't excuse it, but it
Right.
does kind of explain it. And for me, putting it in a little bit of a clinical perspective is helpful.
Exactly. And I think that when we write our trauma, it's important to look at it maybe from I like the word clinical, though I don't have capabilities in the clinical world. I do have it in the journalistic world. And
Yes,
I
you
think
do.
that,
You're more journalistic and I'm more poetic and emotional about it, which
but
is really makes it very interesting.
yeah, well, I think, as you have a very, very good point, and I want to bring that out. And that point is that the action done to you isn't personal. And I know how callous it sounds, but the truth of it is,
It's
you
true.
didn't do anything to even make it happen. It's not your fault. You were a victim of it. Any more than kick the dog is about the dog. It's about the guy that kicks. It's about the
Yes.
thing that happened to you. And you know what? The more I've been reading about assaults, oh my gosh, oh, for our blog, I hear about people who do it over and over and over and over again to different people. So it's not the people, it's the doer that can't get satisfied any other way than to do it to a lot of people. And it reminds me of that cocktail party. Remember I shared with you about that cocktail party? When I went to it with my first husband, who was the triple addict, oh, and a narcissist on top of it, and probably a sociopath. Oh my God.
He had it all.
Wow. And he was super charming, and
Yeah.
he was focused on his endowment. Like that was something special about him. And the woman at the party, I was standing there with a cocktail glass. I was clueless, right? I was just trying to keep things together for my family, which is what everybody told me I had to do. And she came up to me and she said, "You probably shouldn't be here." And I, Dingbat Jan, said, "Well, why?" And she said, "Because he has slept with almost everybody at this party. You need to get your life in order, sweetheart."
It
It
must have been such a horrible moment.
it was, and I mean, I stood there. I remember just being stunned, and I put
Yeah.
my glass down, not caring about the table. That's never me. I always care about the table, right? But I didn't care about the table. And I searched in my purse for those keys that he always dropped in my purse, and I left. I backed out of the front door and got in my car. I screamed and yelled all the way home. I had the babysitter money. I wasn't worried about that. I just wanted to howl. Before I got home, I had to settle myself. And when I did, I thought about, you know what? That jerk has no idea who I am. Who am I? And who says who I am? And I think it was from that party that I thought, had the fleeting thought, maybe I needed to find my own life. Maybe it's time to go. I didn't, but it wasn't long after. And I think that party was the thing. Now, was it easy for me to write about it? I didn't want to because it was so personal, you know, to Dingbat Jan. But that's not true. It wasn't about me. It was about them.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, 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 yes.
Now, when you look back now on that moment when that woman came up to you
Mhm.
at the cocktail party and said that unspeakable thing to you, are you grateful now? Can you find that
I'm,
feeling or
I know I'm not grateful. Any more than I would be grateful if she had pulled a gun on me and pulled the trigger. I wouldn't feel grateful because that's not I think a human response. I don't thank her for that. It didn't come from her. The mitigating moments when you're hit by a car and you realize you have to be a safer driver, the point is I found it within myself. Now, am I thankful that it happened? I guess if I were a more thankful person about the universe giving me a signal, and I wasn't there then. And even when I look back on it now, I think she was horrible. She didn't even have to talk. Am I resentful? No, but I think she was a pretty horrible person. And she wanted something for herself in all of that, you know? So,
what does she want for herself?
satisfaction of being superior and putting us
I
somebody
look back
ahead.
on moments like that in my life where people have told me truths that were hard truths. And I do feel sort of grateful. I think it takes a little bit of courage to walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, you may not see this, but this is the truth."
Oh,
That's
yeah, well, I mean, if you were a person that came from love, that comes
Yeah,
from love within and the compassion for other human beings, that might be a brave thing. Like, look, I've got to tell you something hard. No, this woman was mean.
it wasn't that.
It
Yeah.
wasn't that at all. It was mean and it was superior and it was mean. So,
But nevertheless, it
like
was a
bullying,
turning point.
of course it was a turning point, and I acknowledge that. That I saw it. I didn't see it for what it was. I didn't see it for what it was at all. I responded in shame and
Yeah.
fear. And I reacted in shame and fear. And it's, I don't look back at her as the source of that necessarily, because it was one of hundreds. Because it wasn't long after that that when the girls and I were leaving the grocery store, we saw him with a blonde woman in his car in the parking lot. The girls didn't, I did. So I knew that my life was over. I just wasn't sure how to end it, right? Taking
Right.
my little girl's hands and walking off a cliff. I didn't know how to do that.
But you did figure it out step by step.
I
And
did.
here you are.
Yes. And yes, exactly. Thank you, Marie, for bringing it back to here I am. And you want to know the kicker? He's living in a car
Mm,
at this moment, living in a car.
karma. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of karma-ish.
But let's just get
But
back
I'm
for
not
a quick
satisfied.
minute.
I'm sad. Yeah, sorry. I don't want
Yeah.
people to think I'm glad that he's living in a car. I'm sad he's living in a car. But he's not mine anymore. And
Right.
I support my daughters who have a father that's living in a car in the street, and I give them 1,000% of support to cope with that themselves, right? Oh, God, if anybody thinks I'm callous, go ahead, put it in the chat. Go ahead, put it in comments.
No, you don't sound callous. I don't think you do. No.
Ah, I know. Ah,
But so we started by saying what we did this weekend. So
I know.
Friday to Sunday, we were in writing experiences all weekend long. And as Janet said, it was a hybrid experience. Some of it was in person and some of it was online. A lot of it was online. My eyes felt like fried eggs by the end of the weekend because we spent so much time in these chat rooms and on these virtual classes, and it was really wonderful. So if this sparks an interest in you, look for it next year. Writefest comes up once a year, and it's a wonderful experience for writing poetry, essays, journalistic, magazine writing, all kinds of different genres.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
now have so many good book recommendations. It's unbelievable. So
Well,
I
yeah,
can't
and
wait to get started.
I got inspired listening to the people who wrote fantasy, right? Because there's a skill to writing fantasy. I thought of all the different ways we could write about our trauma. One of the ways to write about trauma is to make it not about you, but about a character, right? And one of the submission requirements we have is go ahead and write fiction, because we know that that character, especially if there's something in the title or in the close, that that girl was me, or I saw that happen
Yeah.
with my own eyes. You can write a fictional story that tells your story, but the character is the one who experiences it. And I thought that was one of the most fascinating parts about that workshop. Yeah, exactly. So, we are starting a podcast. Marie, we are starting a podcast. I'm excited. I hope we have material to talk about so that we are legit.
Oh, we have so many things to talk about. And let's just go back for a second to the origins of the title, Talk About It. Talk About It our goal with this is to bring these things out into the conversation. And if Janet and I can talk about it, you can talk about it. And hopefully it will help somebody be able to talk about it with their loved one, with their very important other, and talk about why maybe they do some of the things they do, or what it means to them, what triggers them, all the different aspects of this topic. There are so many, and we do need to talk about it.
We
Talking
do.
about it will make it better.
And Marie, you bring up such a good point uh, because, right, so I'm on my third marriage, which tells you something about trauma. But with this husband whom I love, he knows my trauma. I've told him. And when he comes up behind me and touches my back when I don't know he's there, I could jump as high as the moon. Not
Mm,
because, and I know he's the only other person in the house, but it's a reaction from my trauma. And when he realizes that he should say, I'm coming up behind you, or
yeah,
something, he knows it and he doesn't take it personally, which I love
yeah.
about him. Yeah.
Right, right. And when you can articulate these things, your life becomes so much easier.
Oh, and it actually feels, Marie, it feels intimate, like he knows me because I've been able to
Well,
tell
I
him.
once had people coming into my house to measure my bathroom. I had to have some work done in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And a woman was one of the plumbing team that came in, and she said, excuse me, please don't follow me into the bathroom. I'm a little uncomfortable in small spaces. And right away, I just understood completely why
Completely.
would she want five men
Yes.
following her into this small bathroom and standing blocking the doorway so she
Oh
couldn't leave when
God.
she wanted to.
Oh my God,
And
that would give
just
me a heart
the
attack.
mere fact
Yes.
that she could say,
Yes,
please,
Marie.
this is my boundary. This is
Yes.
this is what I ask in this moment. Don't follow me into the bathroom. I'm going to measure it. I'm going to come back out.
God,
Simple.
that is so powerful. It's
So
so
simple though,
powerful.
right? And
Yes.
I respected her so much for being able to say that. That is
So
a woman who knows herself, who knows,
exactly.
like, this is what I need, please.
And she can
That's
talk
all.
about it. And she can talk about it.
She can talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. So look
So think
for,
about it and talk about it and
think
come see
about
us
it,
again
talk
next
about it.
Friday.
Exactly right. So we thank you very much for listening. We love Writespace, so look up Writespace Houston. Those virtual workshops are very good. And if you want to learn about writing fiction, that's a great place to start. So next week we'll have more news and we'll talk about new stuff. And we love you.
Bye.
Bye.